Hi there everyone, how you doing? It's Jeff C. It is Saturday, August the 2nd. I hope you're all doing well. Now you may have already seen the Ebola video that I put up last night. I went over a lot of the specifics dealing with this latest outbreak, some of the inconsistencies in the media, a lot of things that are very suspicious. Is this something that is planned? Well, I have a really big video here to do today. I've gathered a lot of information. I'm going to take a really solid look at what's going on. Could this have been something that is orchestrated by the New World Order as a depopulation method? Is it something that they have actually created? Have they actually taken the strain of Ebola and engineered it in order for it to become airborne and even more deadly? We're going to take a look at a lot of the evidence that is out there to suggest that there is some sort of plot dealing with this Ebola outbreak. First place to start off, of course, is with the corporate media, and CNN here showing the very first American ever to be transported to the United States infected with the Ebola virus. This is in a airport in Georgia, Atlanta. And they're going to take him to a special medical facility in which they have an isolation tent they're going to stick him in and hopefully be able to help him. So let's listen in here just for a second to get what they're talking about.
Looking at live pictures right now, the Dobbins Air Reserve Base outside of Atlanta, Georgia. And you're looking at a plane on the tarmac there because it's believed, and CNN is confirming, on board is that American doctor who's been transported from West Africa who is now an Ebola patient here in Atlanta to receive treatment, the first time ever. Dr. Sanjay Gupta is with us now, and this really is a first because while the Emory University Hospital feels it's equipped to deal with a highly contagious patient like this, it's the first time they're actually treating somebody who has Ebola.
Yeah, we're hearing that there were no specific incidents on the plane, that the patient is stable. That was obviously of high concern because, quite a sick patient, making sure they're medically stable enough for this flight. And this is the first, as you mentioned, first time in Atlanta, first time in the United States, first time in the Western Hemisphere of the world that you have a patient with Ebola now in this location. They're going to be going to Emory University Hospital. You know, it's interesting, Fred, any hospital that really has a isolation unit can likely take care of a patient with Ebola because it's important to re-emphasize this is not an airborne disease. It's not a disease that spreads through the air. It's a disease that spreads through bodily fluids.
Okay, so that's what they're telling you, but there's a lot of evidence to suggest that this thing is airborne. And I would definitely not trust the corporate news network here, CNN, which is known for pushing a whole lot of bullshit. It raises a lot of questions, of course. Why on earth would they bring this patient to the United States? Why would they take them to Atlanta? Is there a significance to that? Well, we're going to look at that. I want to go through some of the latest stuff coming off the internet here. I think I will go and show you Dabu7, who put this video up here. U.S. government owns Ebola patent, smoking gun. So I don't think he was the first. I think this was the first to report on this. Why does the U.S. government have a patent rights on Ebola virus? This is the elite NWO agenda. And I'll post links for these videos below. So the patent that these two YouTubers are referring to is here. You can find it off Google. I'll, of course, put the link below. Human Ebola virus species and compositions and methods thereof, CA 2741523A1. And you got the specifics here. The publication date was 2010 and April 29th. The filing date was October 26, 2009. Priority date, blah, 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 blah. So inventors Jonathan S. Towner, applicant Jonathan S. Towner, export citation and all this information. So here in the abstract, they say compositions and methods including and related to Ebola, Bundibugyo virus, I hope I'm saying that right, Ebo-Bun, are provided. Compositions are provided that are operable as immunogens to elicit an immune response or protection from Ebo-Bun challenge in subject such as primate. Invented methods are directed to detection and treatment of Ebo-Bun infection. So I don't know, they might have got it wrong. It seems like this is some sort of treatment that they were developing to fight a particular pathogen of the Ebola virus here. So I don't want to give too much, but I will post the links for this below. There is no cure. If they claim there is no cure for the Ebola virus. And they claim also that it's a 60 to 90% fatality rate. So I'm going to post a link for this below, see if other people want to look into it and see what they can find. But the interesting thing to point here is, of course, Atlanta, Georgia, once again. The invention provides the isolated human Ebola viruses denoted as Bundibugyo, deposited with Centers of Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, in Atlanta, Georgia, United States. Okay. So again, the Atlanta connection coming into play here. Now, here off Global Research, West Africa, what are U.S. biological warfare researchers doing in the Ebola zone? So this is coming from today, August the 2nd. And an interesting article here. This is a call for an immediate, thorough, and independent investigation of Tulane University researchers and their Fort Detrick associates in the U.S. biowarfare research community who have been operating in West Africa during the past several years. What exactly have they been doing? Exactly what diagnostic tests have they been performing on citizens of the Sierra Leone? It's really crazy. I mean, you can understand why disease prevention people would be there, but why would the biowarfare research community be doing there? Right? Why do we have reports that the government of Sierra Leone has recently told Tulane researchers to stop this testing? Have Tulane researchers and their associates attempted any experimental treatments, e.g. injecting monoclonal antibodies using citizens of the region? If so, what adverse effects have occurred? The research program occurring in Sierra Leone, the Republic of Guinea, and Liberia, said to be the epicenter of the 2014 Ebola outbreak, has the announced purpose, among others, of detecting the future use of fever viruses as bioweapons. So that's making it bigger for my eyes here to read better. But just right here, this is has announced the purpose, among others, of detecting the future use of fever viruses as bioweapons. Is this purely defensive research? Or, as we have seen in the past, is this research being covertly used to develop offensive bioweapons? For the past several years, researchers from Tulane University have been active in the African areas where the Ebola is said to have broken out in 2014. These researchers are working with other institutions, one of which is USAMRID, the U.S. Army Medical Research Institution or Institute of Infectious Disease, a well-known center for biowar research located at Fort Detrick, Maryland. In Sierra Leone, the Tulane group has been researching the new diagnostic test for hemorrhagic fevers. So, yeah, I'm going to leave the links for this article below. They talk about the research grants. Here's over $7 million grant from the National Institute of Health to fund and the continued development of detection kits for Lassa viral hemorrhagic fever. So, just another thing to really make you wonder what is really going on here. Also, coming from yesterday, there was a massive emergency drill in New York City. The New York, this is off of myfoxy.com here, and the New York City Department of Health conducted a massive emergency preparedness drill at 30 facilities across the city on Friday. 30. They tested the delivery of emergency medications in the event of a biological attack, such as anthrax or other large-scale public health emergency in the city. The majority of the deliveries will take place to public school buildings. It's the largest surprise drill in the city's history. Just happens to come right as this whole thing is happening. The drill was scheduled to take place from approximately 6:30 a.m. till 3 p.m. The majority of participants were given no notice to better test and simulate real emergency and response. The New York, here's a quote here, the New York New York City Health Department is responsible for developing and executing plans for the mass dispensing of life-saving medicine in response to public health emergencies, says Dr. Osiris Barbeau, First Deputy Commissioner of the Health Department. This exercise demonstrates our commitment to ensuring that we have the capability and resources to protect the health and safety of all New Yorkers in times of crisis. You know, they care so much about you, right? The city warns that supply trucks would be escorted by the NYPD and other enforcement vehicles across the city. The exercise involves deploying more than 1,500 staff members from more than a dozen city agencies and setting up 30 temporary locations that would be used in the event of an emergency to dispense life-saving medication. The goal is to see how quickly we can get drugs distributed in case of attack, the health department says. Says that no actual medications would be distributed as part of the drill, and there should be no impact on other planned activities and da-da-da. But, you know, there's always a drill that accompanies these things, and here we go, another drill happening right in New York City and dealing with what would likely be how they would deal with an outbreak, or maybe a false outbreak. So, also, you know, this is also another very ominous thing coming off of global research here. Obama signs executive order to detain Americans with respiratory illness. You can't make this shit up, right? So here's an article by Paul Joseph Watson. As the Ebola outbreak continues to cause concern, President Barack Obama has signed an amendment to the executive order that would allow him to mandate the apprehension and detention of Americans who merely show signs of respiratory illness. I talked about this in the video the other day. I didn't make specific reference to the executive orders, although I'd heard of them at that point. But I said that they would have the right to basically take anybody that they think might be a carrier or might have been exposed to this, say, Ebola, for instance, and quarantine them. So the executive order titled Revised List of Quarantinable Communicable Diseases amends the executive order 13295 passed by our one and only George W. Bush in April 2003, which allows the apprehension, detention, I'll highlight this for you, apprehension, detention, or conditional release of individuals to prevent the introduction, transmission, or spread of suspected communicable diseases. So this is all happening right as they're bringing the first ever Ebola patients to the United States. You know, I don't know. You know, people call me a conspiracy theorist if they want, but maybe I'm just thinking a little bit too much here. This is too much of a coincidence. The amendment signed by Obama replaces subsection of the original Bush executive order, which referred only to SARS. Obama's amendment allows for the detention of Americans who display, here's what they would be able to do, people that display severe acute respiratory symptoms, which are the diseases that are associated with fever and the signs and symptoms of pneumonia and other respiratory illness, are capable of being transmitted from person to person and that are causing or have the potential to cause a pandemic, or upon infection are highly likely to cause mortality or serious morbidity if not properly controlled. So although Ebola was listed on the original executive order signed by Bush, Obama's amendment ensures that Americans who merely show signs of respiratory illness, with the exception of influenza, can be forcibly detained by medical authorities. And how would they know? I mean, if it's just the flu, you're having respiratory illness, all of a sudden, nope, we're locking you up. So it's another thing to talk about it. As we highlighted earlier this week, the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention has measures in place for dealing with an outbreak of a communicable disease, which allow for the quarantine of well persons who do not show signs or symptoms of the disease. That's what I was mentioning already before. So now he's gone and just amended this bill here, this executive order, in order to specifically target those who might be in contact with Ebola. So it's a lot of crazy coincidences that just happen to be happening all at the same time, right as the first patients in the history of the United States are being brought in with infected by the Ebola virus. And there's not one, there's two, and there might be more, considering the way they do these things. It's something else. So as I was saying before, Atlanta is where they've been taking the Emory University Hospital, where they have this so-called isolation tent or whatever that they've set up in order to prevent this. Now, Atlanta is an interesting choice because here, this is off InfoWars, Atlanta Mayor Reed to participate in annual Bildberberg meeting. So the mayor of Atlanta, Mayor Kasim Reed, is among nearly 150 people that were invited to attend the 62nd annual Bildberberg conference being held in Copenhagen. So this, of course, happened earlier in the spring, and so this guy was there, the mayor of Atlanta. Another connection, of course, conspiracy theorists, those damn dastardly conspiracy theorists would know that Atlanta, Georgia is the home, at least of the Georgia Guidestones, which call for a significant reduction in the population of the planet. In fact, I think they call for a perpetual 500 million and no more. So, just another coincidence, I don't know the date, if there's, a lot of people have gone through the date talking about the significance of it. Of course, in popular culture, it's The Walking Dead is set in Atlanta. And this is where the outbreak, if I'm not mistaken, I can't remember exactly, but I believe the outbreak begins in Atlanta, right? And, you know how they like to code these things, right? Why would it be Atlanta? The Walking Dead I made reference to the other day as, might become reality if the Ebola outbreak became airborne and all of a sudden was everywhere. I mean, civilization would halt. It really would. I mean, we may not have zombies wandering around, but we would have lawlessness, we would have martial law, of course, we'd have all kinds of craziness going on if there was a real outbreak. So, it's just another coincidence to put to the whole thing. Now, as well, this is off USA Prepares, Ebola outbreak connected to Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and George Soros. So George Soros Foundation funds the Kinema Bioweapons Lab at the focus of the Ebola outbreak, and which is about to be closed, apparently amid an investigation. At the epicenter of the current Ebola epidemic is the Kinema Government Hospital in Sierra Leone, which houses a U.S. biosecurity Level 2 bioweapons research lab with links to Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and the Soros Foundation. Right? So the Telegraph buries a key aspect of the story, the evidence that a U.S. bioweapons lab in Sierra Leone with links to Soros and Bill and Melinda Gates is likely the origin of the current Ebola outbreak. Right? So, no, I won't use that source for news, but You know, it's crazy, crazy stuff. There's a lot of shit going on. I watched Monograph's video last night. He did a really good video. I'll leave the links for this below. And he came up with this corporation here, Canadian Biotech Corporation, that was working on the Ebola virus just before it outbroke in February. And this corporation is called Techmira. So here is the article that he makes reference to here, which is dated January the 22nd, 2014. Techmira doses first subject in human clinical trial of TKM Ebola. Just getting that a little bit bigger for my eyes. Techmira Pharmaceuticals Corporation has dosed the first subject in a phase 1 human clinical trial of TKM Ebola, an anti-Ebola viral therapeutic that is being developed under a U.S. $140 million contract with the U.S. Department of Defense. Studies to access safety, tolerability, and pharmacokinetics of TKM Ebola. The TKM Ebola Phase 1 clinical trial is a randomized, single-blind, placebo-controlled study involving single ascending doses and multiple ascending doses of TKM Ebola. The study will assess the safety and tolerability of pharmacokinetics of administering the TKM Ebola to healthy adult subjects. 4 subjects will be enrolled per cohort. There are 4 planned cohorts for a total of 16 subjects in a single dose arm, and 3 are planned cohorts for the total of 12 subjects in multiple dose arm of the trial. Each cohort will enroll 3 subjects who receive TKM Ebola and 1 who receive a placebo. And promising results in non-human parasites. The earlier preclinical studies were published in the medical journal The Lancet, and demonstrated that when the cRNA targeting the Ebola virus and delivered by Techmira's LNP technology were used to treat previously infected non-human primates, the result was 100% protection for otherwise lethal dose of the Zaire Ebola virus. Right? So, you know, they're working with the U.S. Department of Defense, right? They're a huge contract, 40 million, right? The biodefense therapeutics and a joint production manager in the medical countermeasure system. All this, you know, happening. This is all, you know, connected in many ways. Now, a good source here off YouTube is the Potter blog here. They've been covering Ebola for quite some time and have a lot of information. And here, the latest video here, the government's ready for World War Ebola, right? I'll post the links for this below. And I remember the Potter blog when they were talking about the detection kits. This was several months ago. And I remember when I saw this article that you know, it alarmed me because they were talking about the Ebola detection kits deployed by the National Guard's units in all 50 states. So all 50 states were receiving these detection kits. And this is before Ebola was really huge in the news. I mean, it was in the news for sure, but it, you know, like it's you know, it just seems like this has been planned out for quite some time. So on April the 8th, Congress was informed by the Department of Defense that because of emerging threats, J-Bates hemorrhagic fever assays have been deployed to the National Guard units of 50 states. So they sent these things out, you know, that already they knew that there was a good chance that this thing could break out. You know, these are the joint biological detection systems that they have deployed, the alternative vehicles, and these are the detection kits here. The Joint Biological Agent Identification and Diagnostic System, which has been delivered to all 50 states. And this is coming back from April. So I'll put the links for this below. Getting back to Tecmira here, I was looking at this. We are advancing innovative RNAi-based treatments. So Tecmira Pharmaceuticals Corporation is a leading RNA interference therapeutics company with more than 14 years in the industry. Tecmira is the global leader in RNA field. We are developing novel drugs in areas where there is a significant unmet medical need and commercial opportunity. And this corporation too is become extremely profitable over the past month or so here. I was seeing here, here off Reuters, Tecmira shares skyrocket as Ebola outbreak intensifies in Africa. So shares of Canada's Tecmira Pharmaceuticals Corp., which hopes to produce the first treatment for the deadly Ebola virus, have skyrocketed. Go figure, right? As the worst ever outbreak of the virus continues. And this is dated August the 1st. Though the testing, so just from yesterday, though testing of the company's treatment, TKM, Ebola on humans was put on hold last month due to safety concerns, investors scrambled to buy its stock, sending its shares up 7.5% and up more than 50% over the past fortnight. So the recent outbreak in West Africa is as profound as any as we've seen in recent decades. It's terrible, right? But it's great frickin' news for the corporate line. I mean, these corporations are making money hand over fist, getting these contracts from government agencies, and people on these boards here dealing with the corporation are talking about how the fact that the company's really missing the opportunity. Here's a quote here. This is a great opportunity to capitalize on the free press to talk about their TKM Ebola products progress, and yet they have not used this to promote the brand. So I don't know, man. This whole thing could be very much a staged plot. The fact that they put it in the movies, and they like to telegraph it to us all the time. We know how they do that with all these events. Is there a reason why Atlanta is chosen? I mean, is this something that's deep in the cards? Is there more evidence out there? The Atlanta mayor, of course, being at the Bildberberg meeting where these kind of things, I mean, if there was a plan to release some sort of contagion, to have a viral outbreak, the Bildberberg meeting would be the place where these plans would be met. And of course, having the mayor of the city in which the outbreak would be initially launched would be a huge piece to the whole thing, setting it all up. So anyways, I just wanted to put all this information together and hope other people take it and run with it as well. Trying to get to the bottom of this whole thing. It looks like it's quite serious, and the American government has been watching this obviously for quite some time and have had many plans in motion. All this seems to be gaining traction and speed over the past week. We have seen all these things. I mean, Obama signed the executive order. Now the 2 patients coming over, that the first in the history. I mean, why on earth would you risk bringing people over that were infected to the United States? How do we ensure the public? I mean, wouldn't it be perfect for them just to have it accidentally get out? Maybe there'd be some sort of attack on the facility. Who knows, right? But we should be very cautious about what's going on, and very skeptical of what the corporate media is talking about. I want you all to partake in this discussion. Please leave your comments below, and if you have any more information, leave it below or send it to me in a personal message. I wish you all the very best and hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you.